Can you believe it's almost Christmas? If you're listening to this in real time, it's December 23rd. The tree is twinkling, the kids are buzzing with excitement, and your to-do list might be longer than your garland right now. Although hopefully you found time to prepare ahead of time and can just really soak in the special aspects of this season and the true meaning of Christmas time. And yet, in the middle of all of the fullness of everything going on, I think so many of us crave stillness. In fact, that's what the theme has been inside of the Hallow app this Advent season. And I have loved following along with the daily readings and slowing down that it brings to mind. We want to experience this season and not just survive it. That's why today's conversation is one I've been so excited to share. I'm joined by my friend Monica at Wandherwild, a beautiful intentional living brand that creates tools and traditions to help families live with intention, not just at Christmas, but year round. Today, we're talking about what it looks like to slow down, simplify, and make space for the sacredness of this Christmas season, especially as moms who want our homes to reflect peace and not pressure. Welcome, Monica. Thank you so much for joining us, and tell everybody where you're coming to us from.
Yeah, hi Kayla. Thanks so much for having me. And I'm very excited about this conversation so passionate about it because life didn't always look so slow and simple this time of the year for me. But I am calling in from Norway. I am originally a New Jersey girl, but I've been in Norway since 2018 and I've been an expat of the world since 2011, living in across 4 different continents, and life has brought me to Norway in recent years.
So fun. Well, you bring such a unique perspective, and that's why I wanted to have you on. Monica actually hosted an intentional living during the holiday summit that I spoke on, and if you're interested in that, we'll drop the link in the show notes because I talk about specifically being pregnant or postpartum or trying to conceive during the holiday season and how to approach that with intentionality. But today it's the week of Christmas and it's a time when so much can be going on. And Monica, from your perspective, what's the biggest barrier to living intentionally during Christmas for modern families, especially for moms who feel stretched thin?
Yeah, so this event that we hosted pretty recently connected me with so many speakers. We had 40 speakers and we had almost 1,000 attendees, right? So I got to have a lot of conversations that were top of mind, and it was nice to host a space like that, but also put me in such a reflective position because I learned so much from what people are feeling and what people are I think struggling with, that they want to find joy this time of the year. I think we all feel the magic in the air. There's something about the energy this month and these months leading up to the end of the calendar year that feel magical. We want to create that magic too, especially as a mom. But there's also so many expectations. So expectations was something that continuously came up with so many people. We feel like we have to do it all. We have to do the elf on the shelf. We have to do all the Christmas activities to go get a fresh cut tree and maybe have multiple Christmas trees in our home. Like, we have all these expectations to have the perfect card that goes out to everybody and a handwritten note. And it starts to just add up and pile up, and you just can't do everything and feel good is what it boils down to. It's like, if you actually do check all those boxes off when Christmas rolls around on Christmas morning and you are watching your children open their gifts or sharing a family meal, you're not going to feel so great. You're probably going to be so tired and maybe stressed and overwhelmed and burned out. And that's the last thing that we want to feel as a parent on Christmas morning when we have these small kids in our home for only a certain amount of years. So expectations for me is what seems to be coming up the most. I mean, for me, it's come up, but also from the people that I'm speaking to.
That's so relatable. This year, my daughter, she's 6, and she asked about Elf on the Shelf and why we don't have one. And I said, honey, we just don't. I said, and I can't remember exactly how I explained it, but I internally was just like, no, I'm pregnant. We're building a house. And that's not, to me, the root of the season is not a little elf going around, like for me, it's talking about Christ's birth and the Bible stories and those types of things. So I want to make that part magical and really relatable and focus more intentionality on that. And for us, it's as simple as having a lot of little books that we set by the Christmas tree. It's a little basket of Christmas books that we only get out at this time of year. And they're constantly grabbing them and bringing them to me to sit on my lap and read together. And so for me, that is slowing down, it's connection, it's presence. And I'm not running around stressed every evening after putting them to bed to put the elf in a different spot. But I know other families who enjoy that, and that's fine. But I think releasing this mom guilt that you have to do it all because everybody else is, and your kid's going to be disappointed if you don't. I'm so glad I just was like, no, we're not doing that. Now, Monica, this holiday season is filled with joy, as you mentioned. As a mom, it's like the magic of the season. We want to give that to our children, but there's also so much hustle that comes along with it because schedules are packed full. Now, what inspired Wandherwild to help families approach this season with more intention?
I think it initially came from my own, which I think happens a lot of times when you're creating something for community. It comes from your own experience with something. So 2 years ago in 2023, I was working full-time in engineering. I had a 1 and a 3-year-old and I also was, building my entrepreneurial business. And I remember using words in December when everyone was sick with something. We had HMPV and RSV and all these things moving through the house. And I was trying to do it all. We had family visiting from abroad because we host Christmas in our home. So everybody flies to us. So we're usually hosting about 10 people here. And I was like using this word drowning. I just felt like I was drowning. And then there was guilt attached to it because I'm like, why am I saying I'm drowning? I should be enjoying this time. I have these cute, adorable kids and this wonderful family that's coming to, spend this holiday together, and we don't know what the next year brings. And at this point, we've now lost some family members over the past 2 years that aren't with us anymore. And it's, you just really cherish those times. But I look back on that year as drowning, and it was a valid feeling. And so I'm sure I'm not alone in it. So I really wanted to bring resources to the average family to move through the season and make it feel better and release some of the things we're holding on to just really enjoy it and make it feel better.
Can you share some of your favorite family traditions that have helped keep the focus on faith rather than consumerism this time of year?
Yeah, I love that. So I did share with you, our family, my mom grew up Methodist and my father grew up Catholic. And we were Methodist growing up. So my grandfather was highly involved in the church. He played the organ for decades. So every Christmas Eve, we would always go to the church. We had a candlelight service, and he lived next door to us. We were extremely close. So that's how we always spent it. But now I live abroad, so things look differently. And also my husband, I've lived all over the world. So I met him when I was living in Kuwait. He's Saudi Arabian and he's Muslim. So we're raising our children in a way where it's multicultural, multi-religion. But it's also taking the parts that are special to us. And so I share the story about Christmas Eve because that's something that was so special to me and my family, that church service. And here we try and make our own traditions with it. So we are lighting candles and sharing stories with one another about Christ, and also just in general gratitude for one another and stories about how our families spent that time together growing up. So we can just pass some of that down because they won't ever get to experience it. Yeah. But I think it's important as a family to keep some of those traditions alive and then also kind of make them your own too, right? As the next generation is coming up.
Absolutely. Yeah. One of the traditions that we love and do is St. Nicholas. And so he comes on his feast day, December 6th. And so the evening of December 5th, after we put them to bed, I'm stuffing their stockings. And it's just one of those more European traditions. But I grew up doing it with my family and just it was the excitement of coming downstairs, and it might be a school morning and your stocking is stuffed, and it was just this extra little excitement to kind of kick off the December, the holiday season. And I share that because, like, for us, and you mentioned the spirit of giving and gratitude, St. Nicholas is who inspired Santa Claus. And so really talking about that story, and to our kids, the spirit of generosity and how can we help those around us this time of year. And, whether it be sponsoring a local family who is struggling to, provide for their family this time of year. And it's not just gifts, but clothes and warm socks and gloves and coats and that kind of thing. There are so many resources locally, and I think sometimes we get so bombarded with marketing for more the consumerism side of things that is so global, when if you just look around you, there's so much need where you are at. And so pausing to reflect on that, of how can we also help those around us this time of year, and teaching our kids it's not just about like what you get, but also what you give. So the spirit of gratitude is, I think that's a really great underlying tradition to come back to as a family.
I love that. And actually, there's something coming up for me. Our family this year, we were looking through all the toys that our kids have, and they're each going to pick a few toys to go and donate before Christmas. And I've heard that a lot of people end up donating things after Christmas because they're getting this huge influx of new fancy toys in the house under the tree. But people really need to receive things before the holidays for families who are in need. So that's something we're doing this year, that is just, again, thinking about community and how we can support others and bring the meaning of Christmas more into things, instead of just fully looking at the consumerism piece. And the other interesting thing is, we live in Norway now. So like this Friday is St. Lucia Day. So all the kids dress up in white and they walk around with candles. So it's like a community gathering, and everyone comes and they share food. And so it's also interesting. And they also, they tell stories of St. Nicholas, but they also have, they call him Nisa, which is like the Norwegian Santa. So it's also kind of cool to like bring that into our home too, and feel like we're a part of this global life too that we now have in another country, and a simpler and slower pace as well that they really take here. So it's nice to just find those traditions.
Let's talk about that for a minute, the simpler, slower pace you found in Norway, because the traditions you just mentioned that are new to you but are rooted in their culture, just beautiful. Like, that's awesome. How have you found yourself slowing down just by assimilating into that culture?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard because this time of the year we had such beautiful traditions growing up. Like, I had that Christmas Eve at my grandfather's, and Christmas Day we always went to my grandmother on my dad's side, who lived right up the road from us. My whole family lived like in a 10-minute radius from one another. And she worked at Disney. She was a cast member for like 20 years. So she really brought the magic. Like, her home felt so... it was just the energy behind it. It always just was decorated so beautifully, and just also so warm and welcoming, and bringing the entire extended family together. So there were a lot of things growing up that were really just rooted in connection and family time, and really just spending that quality time together. And I think now in Norway, I just am continuing that mindset, because you can get away from it. I think in later years, I probably did get sucked into a lot of the other things, right? That you just feel like you need to buy and you need to have all these things. And now I'm just really sinking into the local pace here, which they do kind of celebrate I shouldn't say celebrate, but they observe Black Week. they have some like type Black of sales going on. It's like a Black Friday week. But like on Sunday, all of the malls are closed. On Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, the day after Boxing Day, the stores are closed for about 4 days. Like, you have to buy groceries and stock up your refrigerator.
No way.
And same with New Year's. So they really lean into, like, that's to preserve people's time and boundaries. And so they really, like, they could be making profits, but instead they're closing stores on Sundays. They're not open late hours. Like, the malls here close around 6 a lot of days. Like, they're really, they really preserve your boundaries and your family life. So that's something that I've learned to really respect. And I see why. I mean, we have to plan a little bit more for having a lot of people in our home and consuming food. But it's so nice to know that most people are spending that quality time with their family, or they're getting compensated really well with overtime hours if they are needed.
Okay. Yeah, that's very different than here in the United States, where it's pretty much just Christmas Day that most things are closed. And I think we have to, if you do live here in the US, you have to just set those boundaries for yourself, whether it's
Hmm.
taking that vacation day or just saying no to whatever it may be to preserve that family time. Now, Monica, many of the women listening are trying to juggle motherhood, extended family, holiday travel, maybe pregnancy and postpartum, right? So, what
Yeah.
practical ways can we build rhythms of rest and connection into such a full season?
Yeah, I love this question. So I think okay, I have like three things. The first one I would say is just choose a few things to really lean into this season. And at this point, you're listening on the 23rd or later, so it might be too late. But even between Christmas and New Year's, don't feel like you need to do everything. Like, just pick one or two activities that are really going to light you up and your family, that are really going to give you all, the whole family, quality time together and joy together. And just lean into those one or two things instead of feeling like you have to do everything. I think the second thing is comparisons, like just letting go of feeling like you have to do what that person over there is doing. Like you mentioned with the elf on the shelf, and you just said, that's not something that I need to I need to introduce to my family. And that goes with anything, right? Like, I'm not doing Christmas cards this year. We're not dressing up for a family photo. I just didn't feel like I wanted to do it this year. And that's okay, right? If we don't have one every single year. So I think it's also giving yourself that grace to not compare yourself with everyone else and just do what feels right for you and your family. And the third thing I would say is don't feel guilty to ask for help. We feel like we have to be the magic makers. I hear moms say this all the time, that like we are the magic makers. We have to plan the church visits and the community service and the family gatherings and cook the food and buy gifts for everyone. And so we feel guilty a lot to ask for help, but try and release that guilt and actually just extend a question. Just say, can you help me with this? Ask your husband, ask a family member. My parents recently retired, so they have a lot of free time on their hands now. So I've started to lean on them more for supporting with things. So, don't feel guilty to outsource and ask for help within family and friends, or also potentially hiring someone. But, that really helps when you can just outsource some things to others just by simply asking, because they might not really know. And not feeling guilty about it, because I know a lot of us, our moms did everything, so we feel like we should do everything.
Yeah.
But it's a different generation, and a lot of our moms weren't working full time and having the load that we have now, right? It is different. So we need to really just, it's okay. It's okay to ask for help and not feel guilty about it.
Yeah. And I think a pressure I put on myself is everything has to be homemade and from scratch, because as somebody who's into holistic health and healthy living, like that is something that's important to me. Like within our home, I love making as much as I can from scratch. But when we have multiple different parties that I have to bring an appetizer to and a side dish to 3 days in a row, plus we're feeding the family at home, like it gets to be too much. And it does. And we have a really small kitchen and small refrigerator. We're in a tiny rental right now. And so it's not the easiest space to prepare. And so that is something I've just released the guilt from this year, especially being due literally on Christmas Day. I was like, it's okay to just buy a few dips from Aldi and Costco and have those on hand in the fridge. My thing that I'm bringing to every party we go to this year is just a charcuterie board. And I've got all of the salami meat pre-purchased, the cheese, different dips, crackers, those are shelf stable, some veggies, and then I can just chop them up, put them on the tray and bring them. And so for me, that was like that feels good, right? Versus feeling like I need to make a homemade spinach and artichoke dip and my homemade sourdough crackers, right? That would be the ideal, but it's just not reality this year. And 10 years down the road, 5 years down the road, when my now 6-year-old daughter can help me in the kitchen and I'm not on baby watch at the same time, then we can do more of those homemade things from scratch and it be a really fun thing to bring to those parties. But I think letting yourself have grace within the season that you're in is so important. And again, letting go of that comparison, because the mom whose kids are of age to start helping her in the kitchen to prep, or who isn't expecting a child this time of year, she may be able to make that stuff from scratch that you so badly want to, but it's just not your time, and that's okay.
Absolutely. And it's also nice to start getting comfortable with the gender roles changing a little bit. But yeah, in my home, my husband actually loves to cook. Like, it brings him so much joy, and he makes pizza dough from scratch. So him, and we have a 3 and a 5-year-old, so a little bit older now, but still pretty young. They love to make homemade pizza. They love to make a lot of stuff in the kitchen together. So that's actually their time with their dad. And I'll join sometimes, and we all like to cook, but like, they will have a great time cooking with him. And then maybe grandma will help clean up, and then I can do like a nice little meditation and take a shower for a minute, right? So it's also okay to like let some of those gender roles go, and it's okay for people to take different roles so that you can free up a little bit of time for yourself.
Sure. No, that's so true. And I have some friends whose husbands love to cook. And I'm like, that's amazing. Mine doesn't, but I do.
Yeah, I'm so lucky.
That's amazing. So leaning into each of your strengths within the season is great too. The other day, like, my husband loves to run around with the kids and like be active. So he brought the kids up to our gym and just burnt energy with them for 45 minutes so I could have the house to myself and like clean and organize stuff. I organized our gifts and all of that. And so just, and to your point, asking for help, but leaning on each of your strengths and being okay with not doing it all yourself.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the emotional side of the season too. So for many moms, the holidays bring up joy and overwhelm. How do you personally find peace when things don't go as planned, or when the perfection pressure sneaks in?
Yeah. Oh man. I think a lot of us are like recovering perfectionists, or maybe we are still perfectionists of some sort. For anyone into astrology, like, I'm a Virgo moon, so I notice a lot of details in things that people don't. And yeah, it can be tough sometimes when you see the messes, the clutter, just things in general maybe not working out. And for me personally this year, actually, I shared with you before we started recording, like, my sister is expecting her first child the 28th of December. So she's not traveling here with my brother-in-law this year. They're usually here with us. And my mom and dad were supposed to be flying over in a few days. And my dad actually just found out he had Lyme's disease and he was hospitalized. He got released. He's going to make a full recovery, but he doesn't know if he's cleared to fly and travel. So, you know, we're leading up to like 15 days from Christmas right now, and I don't know if we're having any outside visitors or if we're just going to be celebrating with my little family here, just, you know, the 4 of us and our dog. And I'm okay with that. Like, I just am grounding into what is this holiday about? What is this season about? And it's really about being with those you love, being with your family, being appreciative, and just, yeah, I think it's just making those connections with one another and really being appreciative to have this time with one another this season. And our health, I get a little bit choked up because there's some family members that aren't with us anymore. And I think that also really puts into perspective when you lose people and you're grieving, and there's also joy this time of the year. And it really puts things into perspective, like what's important. And it's that togetherness piece for us. So I'm letting it unfold, and grounding really supports as well, to just ground into the moment and think, okay, what's truly important? I don't need to have a full house this year. That's okay. Everybody needs to take care of themselves. And hopefully we'll all be together next year. But really just finding joy in who's able to celebrate with you and being present with them.
I love that line, finding joy in who's able to celebrate with you and being present with them, because You're so right. And I heard the emotion in your voice. I mean, there are people in our community who are ill, and a dear friend of mine lost her sister at Christmas time a couple years ago, and it can bring up a lot of sadness because you associate this time of year with those memories and those memories of those who maybe are still with you but not in their peak health or who you have lost. And just being present with those we have with us, with those who are with us now in whatever capacity they are, and leaning on the groundedness of that moment and just being present in it, because we never know what the next day will bring, what the next year will bring. And that's a heavy thing to think about and a heavy line. But knowing that two things can be true at once, right? We can feel that heaviness of the reality of that situation, but we can also feel the joy of those that we're with, especially when it comes to children, right? Because for them, we are, as you said earlier, they're the magic makers, and they experience joy in a different way than we as adults do, right? Our emotional maturity is at a very different level than theirs. And so still bringing that light and that joy to them, no matter what hardships might be going on in your own life, is so important. So Monica, as we enter into this Christmas week, what else is on your mind to share with our community just about spending intentional time with those you love in these coming days and beyond that? Because as I mentioned earlier, Monica runs Wandherwild, and I didn't really say this, but they have retreats. So they have retreats throughout the year where you can travel to a location, you can bring a few kids with you, they have family retreats. And it's a time for you to just be present with those you love, which is really what we've been talking about today, is really truly the goal at Christmas time, but to sprinkle that in throughout the year too. So what would you leave our community with as we enter into this week of Christmas and then move beyond that too, to just continue living with intention?
Yeah, I mean, I think the first thing is to make this holiday what you want it to be. Make this season what you want it to be. It's okay to lean into traditions that you really enjoyed growing up, that you want to take with you. It's also okay to create new traditions, new rituals with your family, and let other things go that maybe just don't feel good anymore. And it's also okay if your neighbor is doing something or your friend is doing something that just doesn't feel right to you. So just give yourself permission to make this season what you want it to be. And you are raising the next generation of your family, right? So you have that opportunity to instill in them what you really want them to get out of this holiday season and the Christmas holiday. And the other thing I would just say is, I think if you want to lean deeper into connection throughout the year, the whole reason I created Wandherwild Family Retreats was for that. I say it a lot, like it's a connection retreat above anything. There are holistic wellness practices inside where we are doing interactive sound journeys with mom and child, and having earth to table meals and forest bathing and nature-based childcare. But the underlying tone of it all is about connection. It's about really taking away that decision fatigue and the mental load that all of us are carrying all the time. And we're making all the decisions for you, right? You have an activity program. You know what your kid is going to eat. Our chef, who is a single mom, is also a mom to a picky eater. So she knows what kids are going to like. And we treat the children like they're retreat guests, which we're the only retreat in the Americas doing something like this, which is crazy to think, but we aren't the only ones for a reason as well. There's some complexities to it, but our youngest guest was just 6 weeks old, and we welcome up to teenagers. Neat. But we really welcome babies and toddlers, and create an environment where you don't have to feel guilty if your kid is wanting to run and let their energy out, and kids can be kids, and moms can also come in community and connect with one another.
Yeah. And as you're saying this, I'm like, oh, what an amazing gift, right? So if you need a last minute gift, an experience gift, look into the Wandherwild retreats, or keep this in mind for next year or for birthdays. I have not been on one yet, but I really would love to go. It just, every time I see you sharing about them, I'm like, oh, that just sounds like the perfect getaway and just the space, as you said, to let go of everything else, of the decision fatigue, and just really be present in the moment. So thank you
Yeah,
for
Kayla,
sharing
you
that.
have to come.
I do. We would love it. We
Yeah.
would love it.
Yeah, and I have an incredible team. We're all moms, so I mean, I'm kind of my strong base is the travel piece and the operational part, the director side of things. But I have an incredible wellness and childcare team, and we all just really get it. It's moms supporting moms in like the most purest way. And we have a winter retreat coming up for moms and kids, and also a family retreat if dads also need a space to be nourished in a very accessible way. Like, we're not going to be so woo. It's really open to any family. And that's going to be over spring break in Florida. So yeah, so we've got a couple fun things coming up if you are interested to learn more.
So cool. Like I said, I'll put those links in the show notes below. And as we celebrate the birth of Christ in just a few days, I hope this conversation encourages you to take a pause, to go light a candle, to savor the laughter of the children around you, to pray and give thanks before the meal, and to remember the holiness is found in the ordinary moments of motherhood. I think so often, we make it that it has to be these big extravagant events or activities that we go to and create for our kids, but really it's just those ordinary moments, light a candle at dinner time, say a prayer, cuddle up on the couch and read a story. Just be present with the little ones in your life. And if you don't have children yet, just being present with those around you, right? And again, leaning into the ordinary moments. So from my family to yours, Merry Christmas. May your home be filled with peace, presence, and joy, not because everything is perfect, but because your heart is grounded in what's eternal. If this episode resonated with you, be sure to leave the Holistically Well podcast a review. That can be your Christmas gift to me. And your support truly means the world as we step into another year. We will be filling our cup throughout 2026 to learn and grow together. Thank you so much for being here. Thriving truly is not about doing more, but it's about being present to the miracle already here. Wishing you a blessed Christmas season, my friend.